If racial wealth divide is left unaddressed and is not exacerbated further over the next 8 years, median Black household wealth is on the path to hit zero by 2053. About 10 years after, it is projected that the racial minorities will comprise the majority of the nation's population. In sharp contrast, median white household wealth would climb $137,000 by 2053 and $147,000 by 2073.
Financial literacy. This is something that we don't talk enough about because it's easy from the outside looking in saying what he should have did. But I guarantee you that 90% of y'all, maybe even more, if you were in the same position as him, meaning that you had got that type of opportunity, especially at the time that they got that opportunity, then even today, you probably would have been worse off. You probably would have fumbled the bag. Yes, they made a lot of money with their clothing. Yes, they made a lot of money in the record industry. Yes, he did fumble some bags or whatever like that. And even with him fumbling those bags, he still should be in a position of power. But the point and the fact of the matter is that he's not alone in that there's a lot of us that get huge opportunities. We make a lot of money in our lifetime, and it may not even be on the level of Dame, but it definitely is a lot of money. And y'all don't make the adjustment. If you make 100,000, if you make 80,000, you at this point in your life probably make more than you ever have in your entire life. But the quality of your life is not any different because you're still in the same position. You still got more bills. You upgraded your lifestyle based off of how much money you make. What makes you think you would do it any differently when you get millions? And that's why I like to lean on the word of God a lot of times, because you have to show yourself faithful in little. The moral of the story is, we have to really, really understand what financial literacy is, because it's not just about whether or not you're rich or money. I know it's a lot of Bible thumpers out there that don't think that money is significant and the only thing that matters is whether or not you love God. Listen, to show that you love God is to be a good steward of the resources that he gave you. Some of y'all need to go and reread your Bible. He talked about the talents, right? And he took the talents from the person that did less with it, that got less from it, and gave it to the person that had the most, because he was a better steward with his finances, and he leveraged the opportunity and the tools and the talents that he gave him in order to be much more significant, much more relevant, and do great things with it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we need to have another part of the conversation, because there's a lot of people that's getting money, it's a lot of people that's hustling, but very few people actually know how to manage their finances correctly. And very few people know how to get into a situation where they never fall off.
Is financial education essential or an excuse when it comes to the conversation of reparations? If any of you are familiar with Vlad TV and Tariq Nasheed, this is going to be one of the most interesting conversations that you're going to hear, and I'm going to give you one of the most pressing commentaries on this conversation as a financial services professional, as a banker, of course, and also as a Black man. So we're going to get into this topic shortly, but before we get into it, I'd like to give you context on who I am so you know who you're getting this information from. So let me give you the intro. This is JP, the financial architect and the creator behind Blueprint for Prosperity Network, a channel started part-time in December of 2022 and has already amassed over 5,000 subscribers and over 6 figures in views. And I couldn't be more honored to have become one of the favorite finance creators available on YouTube right now. That having been said, it's time for this channel to graduate to another plateau. I've realized that there's a high demand for what I have to offer, and now it's time to advance the long-term projections for this channel and myself. The goal is to be able to conduct more one-on-one consultations, as well as live in-person events in your backyard around the country. The goal is also to start that plan by putting out more long-term content, including more live streams where I answer you guys questions directly and cover more pressing financial topics as the economy shapes around us. You guys have been tremendous in your support for this channel. Constant shares, likes, comments, and consistent engagement has helped this channel reach the heights that it's reached so far. What if I told you that you can make an investment in this channel and sharing the revenue as this channel grows over a set period of time? Crazy, right? Well, we're not the only one pioneering and trailblazing out here on the internet. The company and the platform offering this opportunity is called Oversubscribe. It has a fantastic team of advisors, fully regulated by the SEC and set up to handle the investments from our fans. There's no commitment right now, but your engagement right now will help me plan out this fundraising campaign for the future. So click the link down below. When you click the link down below, fill out the form. I'll be able to put together a full plan for this this fundraising opportunity so we can all grow our net worth and I can continue to bring you the best quality content available in the finance space. So I'm going to forewarn you in advance. This is going to be mildly controversial and possibly sensitive for many people. I'm going to first start off by saying, in my personal humble opinion, that I believe that every single American has a right to chime into this conversation. It doesn't necessarily mean that they get to sit at the head of the table, but they deserve an opportunity or have earned or are entitled to some input on this conversation. Why do I say that? The main reason that I say that is because it's going to be U.S. tax dollars. If this hypothetical reparations were ever to be dispersed, every single taxpaying American is going to be putting $1 in that race, even those who may have had no direct, indirect, or generational ties to the atrocities of slavery here in America. Also, I believe that if we're to move forward as a country, it is important for us to do our best to try to come together around these topics versus being divisive on these topics, if at all possible. That having been said, I want to give you guys some clips from a very interesting interview done by Vlad TV, one of the more prominent bloggers and internet personalities on the internet today, especially around hip-hop media, entertainment media, and Tariq Nasheed, who many would consider a hybrid of a black activist and a bit of an entertainment figure himself. So in this conversation, it's proposed, the conversation of reparation is brought up, and it's proposed by Vlad that financial education should be a requirement prior to the disbursement of reparations. Tariq Nasheed, as one could expect, decisively disagrees. So I'm going to play you some clips, some highlights from this interview, and then I'm going to give you my commentary.
You have to learn how to handle thousands of dollars, and then learn how to handle tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, then millions. Mm-hmm. If you give someone millions of dollars who's never learned how to handle tens of thousands, they're not going to know what to do with that money. This is not a race thing, because you can't just give someone a bunch of money. You have to learn how to build up and how to handle it at every point. Mm-hmm. If you suddenly give someone a bunch of money who's used to having no money, they're going to splurge.
We have so much ingenuity. We've been dealing with economic situations for a long time and making ends meet and doing something with nothing. So many of us are not going to squander the money off. If people want to get their reparations and squander it off, let them do it. That's going to circulate in the economy anyway. But
not into the black economy, though. It's going to go into back in the corporate system. Well, I hope that if it does actually happen, one of the requirements for actually getting the money is to go through some financial literacy classes first.
They don't do that with no other groups. Don't do it to us. They don't do that.
I understand.
Damn that,
I understand how they don't.
No,
but I feel like, listen, without financial literacy, everyone's going to get messed up.
They're not giving financial literacy classes to these immigrants coming over here getting debit cards. They're not giving them no damn financial literacy classes.
Listen, but I hope that it does, because I think that overall, everyone will benefit way more.
Right.
Here's how the stock market works. It's not the same as gambling. You're actually buying a piece of a company with this stock. So you should know that. You know what I'm saying? Before you go and take it to the casino because you think it's the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Right.
This is how 401ks work. This is how interest rates work and so forth. If you know that coming in, I wish I had taken financial literacy classes before I first started making money.
Okay, so as you can clearly hear from the clips that were played, the highlights, this is a contentious topic. And as a financial services professional, banker by trade, and a YouTube personal finance creator, I have to say that this is going to be one of those times where I have to play devil's advocate. Now, I am completely in agreement with the emotion and the conviction behind the idea of being entitled to reparations based on the history of us as Black Americans in America. I get it. I totally get it. As much as it's possible to get it with my understanding, my knowledge base, my understanding of history, I understand. But I have to be honest and say we have to have a conversation around what are we looking to accomplish with the disbursement of reparations. Is reparations simply basically what we can consider a move out of spite based on what we've been through? Is it an emotional response? Is it something intended to satiate us from a psychological and emotional point of view? Is it, you owe us this and that's it? Or is reparations something that we intend to see actually have a positive effect in the Afro-descended community here in America? Is it intended to actually close the wealth gap? Is it intended to, bring the economic resources that are missing in the Black community to help heal families, heal individuals, heal the community, heal various versions versions or dimensions of our community, what is the base root of the concept of reparations, besides the general fact of the wealth that was stolen and the wealth that we were deprived our ability to build in this country for so long? That aside, what are we looking to accomplish is probably a better question. And that brings me to the concept of coming to some stronger agreements with Vlad on this conversation. Now, I know, again, this one's probably going to be controversial or contentious, but that's the point of having this conversation. I feel as if we're all responsible adults, respectful adults, and we should be an educated adults, and we should be able to have these conversations learning from each other. And I have to say, as somebody who's taken so much value in becoming financially educated throughout my adulthood and my career, and being able to bestow the gift of financial education on thousands of individuals and hundreds of small businesses at the time of this recording, I have to say that it is completely irresponsible to roll out an economic plan of reparations to millions of Americans in this country, Black Americans, that we know firsthand have generationally poor financial habits and absolutely no financial acumen. It's not all by any means, but it's probably fair to say that it's a large majority or a pretty sizable majority of us that don't understand money, finance, the economic system that we're in, investing, etc. Basic banking, money habits, we don't understand it. Many of us don't get it. And the consequence of poor financial acumen, the lack of financial education, is something that is smacking us in the face now without reparations. Many would make the argument that being set back so long in this country, being deprived for so long in this country, is the main contributing factor to the current economic state of Black America, which, by the way, is on track for a net worth of 0 as a community of people in this country, as a racial group in this country. And that's by projections or estimates of 2053. Just a totally different video topic I plan to cover. If the goal is to further, to heal, to grow, to elevate Black America, if that's the goal, which I'm posing the question, is that the goal? Then how is that possible without the disbursement of some kind of financial education and some level of requirement of financial acumen before dispersing these funds? What we've learned and has been talked about in an interview here with Vlad TV is when some of us do make it to financial success, when we get our hands on real money, many of us end up in even worse situations where we're taken advantage of and we make horrible financial decisions that end up hurting us and hurting the people around us that depend on us. We have countless examples in the Black community where athletes, entertainers, business people, etc. have come across real financial wealth, real riches, and unfortunately, in very short amounts of time, have completely torched that money. And in some cases, sent themselves back to square one where they started, or potentially worst case scenarios, where people have ended up with addictions, suicides, etc. So how is it possible for us to make the argument for reparations without creating a standard around financial advancement if and when that capital is dispersed? And this is theoretical. We may never see reparations, but it's a fair conversation to have. And I think it's very interesting that someone who is outside of this issue, like Vlad, is advocating for something that arguably can be seen as looking out for the better interests of Black America. Now, I know that there's going to be some argument that it's just an excuse to keep from dispersing those funds, and that's a fair conversation to be had. I mean, looking at the history of things, there has been countless, initiatives, efforts, legislations, etc., to intentionally, cut short the financial progression of Black America for a long time. And so I can understand the lack of trust, and frustration around the topic. But it is irrefutable that without some kind of financial education, without a priority of financial education and a foundation at which this money can be put to good use by as many of us as possible, understanding personal credit, FICO scores, understanding banking, relationship banking, how the banking system works, understanding the foundation of capitalism, the stock market, real estate, owning real estate, business ownership, accounting, taxes, How is it possible for reparations to serve Black America without financial education? How? And this interview really brings it to a head when you listen to someone like Tariq Nasheed, who is an advocate, obviously, of the community, and, an activist, somebody who, at least from a media point of view, at the forefront of the fight for, Black rights and reparations, etc., Black history, who is completely disregarding the concept of financial education in this conversation. He doesn't see it as valuable. He doesn't see it as necessary. And in his mind, those who have it benefit and those who don't, good luck. Based on what we were able to hear in the highlights, Tariq Nasheed kind of makes, and if you watch the entire interview, which I implore you to do, it's only about 8 minutes long. Tariq Nasheed makes it abundantly clear that he, good luck to those who don't have the financial education and don't make the right decisions with the money. And he also goes as far as to say, well, the money will circulate in the American economy as a whole, so as long as it's doing that, it's fine if people squander it. Again, the whole concept of reparations, like I'm assuming, is to help recover and advance the Black community, the Afro-descendant African-American community. If that's the case, how can you take a stance as a Black activist that, well, if Black America squanders reparations, if it were ever to be dispersed, at least it's circulating in the American economy in the hands of every other racial group and ethnic group and culture in the country but us. And it's intended to be a debt repay as well as a financial and an opportunity, I'm assuming and hoping, for financial advancement of Black America and all of the benefits that come from financial stability and financial abundance, all of the back end or byproduct benefits, mental health, psychological health, families being able to build on healthier grounds, relationships between people, business relationships. I mean, just the list goes on. The communities and sub-communities in our culture, all of the financial strain and every negative side effect that comes from that we're subject to. How is it possible that we experience those benefits as a whole, as a people, leaving as few behind as possible without financial education? I just don't get it. So I wanted to bring this topic on this channel. From time to time, we kind of touch on the Black community and our relation to the economy, our relation to finance. So I just feel it's adequate. I know the bulk of my audience is not strictly Black, and I understand that. And I intend to open the door for those who are outside of the Black community to chime in on this conversation, respectfully, of course. Is financial education a fair requirement for reparations? Very simple question. I'm curious. I want to know. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this interview, this topic. Let me know your thoughts on your stance. What do you believe around a conversation of reparations and financial education? I want to know, is this something that is essential or is it an excuse? Let me know your thoughts. Let's be, respectful, responsible adults in this conversation. But we're all Americans. We're all human beings. Let's attempt to have this conversation in a way that, advances the narrative forward and not draws us back. So I want you guys to continue to support the channel so this channel can continue to support you by commenting, sharing, and subscribing. To all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. As always, I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.